Ahead and start the recording. We're so glad that all of you could join today. I know that a lot of people will be joining little by little here as the 11 o'clock hour continues. But yeah, we are so glad that you could all join today. I think, well, it's rainy today, not snowy, but I think on days like this, I'm happy to join by Zoom and not driving like I said, if it's snowing, then it's a little harder, but if it's raining, it's not as bad. But anyway, so my name is Londa Nwadike, and I work for Kansas State University, and I also work for University of Missouri. I'm wearing both today because I have something for MU later today, but I work for both universities as the State Extension Food Safety Specialist, and I'm also one of the co-chairs of our K-State Research and Extension Local Food Systems team. We started this team, man, it was in March of 2020. And as we all know, March of 2020 was a very interesting time. And we have been kind of developing our team, over the last 20 months. And one of the goals that our team kind of set out was that we wanted to have more, what's the right word? Just more times like this. We wanted to be able to kind of just get to know the other local food systems partners in Kansas and try to start, doing more collaboration together so that we can all kind of pull for a common agenda. I think we're all trying to help improve local food systems in Kansas and improve, markets for farmers, as well as availability of fresh local foods for Kansans. And I'm eating my local apple right here, actually, and thinking about how great it is to have, and Barb's got apples up in her corner there, and just thinking about how great it is to have fresh local produce and fresh local foods available to all Kansans. So as Tom Buller is also here this morning, Tom's going to be, I have to do preschool pickup towards the end of the meeting today. So Tom's going to take over at the end, but Tom put in the chat, unfortunately, because there's so many of us, which is great, but we won't have time for everybody to introduce themselves because we're going to try to keep it to an hour because we know that everybody's busy, but and if people are starting to do it. So if you could put in your, in the chat, your information, that'd be great. Sorry, I got an email about getting the Zoom link that's distracting me. So anyway, so I'm going to ask Tom if he can reply to this email for me. So we appreciate everybody putting their information in the chat there. So the goal of today is really to, for people that are working in the area of local food systems across Kansas, to be able to share some things that you're working on and to learn what other groups are working on, so that we can strengthen local food systems in Kansas. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up my PowerPoint here. So that, oops, so my PowerPoint is not on any one of my screens, sorry. All right, so now I'm going to pull up my PowerPoint. Okay, can you see that okay? Okay, good, I'm getting some nodding heads, great. So I'm going to go ahead and advance this so we can talk about our agenda for today. Like we said, we know that you all have other things going on, so we'll try to end by 11. While I'm thinking of it, we are planning to do this once a quarter. Like I said, we've kind of had varying plans over the years of over the 2 years, I guess, of how we could do this, and COVID and other things have challenged doing this in person, but for now we are planning to do this once a quarter. So we'll let you, I should have looked at the date. I'll try to look it up later here of our next quarterly meeting, but we'll let you know on that in a minute. But so today we're gonna, I'll give a little update on the USDA Regional Food Systems Program grant that K-State led, and a number of you were involved in that. I'll give you a quick update on that. And then we have quick 5-minute presentations, kind of lightning presentations from a few of the partners across the state. And hopefully, like I said, we're planning to do this every quarter, and then we'll have different partners can present every quarter. But for this quarter, these are you can see them listed there, and then we'll be calling them out during the presentation. So you can see the list there of our partners that will be presenting this morning, each for 5 minutes, so we can keep on time. And then we'll have a time of open announcements. So if any of you that are here today that have an upcoming event that you'd like to share with the rest of the network about local food systems event that you might have coming up, or a resource that you've just developed, or something that you'd like to share from your organization, that'd be great. We'd really appreciate just hearing from others. And so I listed there at the bottom. So our Key State Research Extension, it's our transdisciplinary local food systems team, does have a website there where we have already one of the presentations from today is posted there. We're planning to post the other presentations from today. If you want to share, a one page from your organization too, of what you're doing, we can put all those things onto that website there so that you can, others, that couldn't join today. We are recording it today, by the way, so that others that couldn't join today can also review the recording, and then they can look at the materials from the day as well. So with that, I'm going to go to our talk about the USDA Regional Food Systems Planning Grant that we applied for. It's kind of a mouthful there, but the short answer of what the news is about the grant is we're not sure. Unfortunately, we have not heard officially from USDA yet. I will say we did get an email from USDA about a month ago asking a few questions about the proposal. One was like a clarification on a typo, and then just a few other questions, which I thought were fairly easy to respond to. It did say in bold red font in the email that we got from USDA that this does not mean that you were funded. But anyway, you all can draw your own conclusions about that. So anyway, so we're hopeful that we'll hear. I did check with them last week and they said we'd hear by the end of November, or sorry, by the beginning of November. So, or hopefully, I think the word was hopefully we'll hear by the first week of November. So we're hoping to hear any minute now. Maybe the email will come in during this meeting. I don't know. But anyway, hopefully we'll hear soon. So that's the short answer there. So this grant, I just showed this slide again. So those of you that have joined any of our calls that we had this summer, it's the same slide that we had this summer, but some of you might not have been on those calls, or you might have forgotten because a few things have happened since June when we were working on this. So, so you can see there kind of our outcome goals of the grant that we submitted. We did submit a planning grant because we felt like the way that the RFP was written, it was important for us to do a planning grant first to be able to get an implementation grant. So I'll talk about that on the next slide here, but you can kind of read through. So human capital, infrastructure, financial capital, and policy supports were the four, we call them buckets, or areas that we worked on, and you can see the lead co-lead organization for each of those different buckets. And then we'll be hearing from most of those different partners today as well. So this next slide just kind of, again, mentions the steps for the grant. So we've submitted the grant. We're just hoping to hear, if and whether we do or don't get the grant, we still plan to continue to have these sort of quarterly meetings. But again, if we get the grant, things might look a little different. But the idea of this planning grant is then that we will submit an implementation grant at the conclusion of that 2-year planning grant. So, so then we can implement a lot of the great ideas that we'll be hearing about. So, so with that, and if you have questions related to the grant, feel free you can type them in the chat or email myself. I have my email address at the end here, or Tom Buller as well. So feel free to let us know, but I think in the interest of time, we'll just keep going now because unfortunately, none of us know if we got it or not. So once we know if we got it, we can talk a lot more, but so I'm gonna turn it over with pleasure to our colleagues at the Kansas Rural Center, and Zach is on top of my screen, so I'm guessing it might be Zach that's presenting. Yep. And I'll turn it over to Zach. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Londa, and good morning, everyone. Zach Pastoral with the Kansas Rural Center. I'm also joined by my colleague, Caitlin Stanley, who is our local foods director. I just want to take a few seconds to say that while there's a lot of folks kind of working at cross purposes or against each other to solve a lot of our problems today, it's really nice to be able to join all of you in working together and cooperating towards a really big challenge for us in making sure that we get healthy local foods to our state. So thank you in that solidarity and good work that we're all doing. So to that end, we're at your service to collaborate and cooperate to make sure that our farms in Kansas are economically viable, socially just, and ecologically sound. Something's been part of our mission since 1979. Okay, next slide. One way that we do that is through education and farmer training. One of our challenges in Kansas and across the country is that the average age of farmers is around 60 years old. So we need to educate the next generation of farmers and help them provide the resources and education so they can be successful. So that's why we've undertaken beginning farmer training. I know many of you are doing that across the state, so important. Another item, 15 in the next 15 years, 40% of the farmland and ranch land across the country will change hands. And so that's why it's important that land access be part of the opportunity for both beginning farmers and existing farmers to be able to grow the crops that they can to feed their communities. So we undertaking a 2-year project supported by SARE to work on land access and the transition of land from farmers going out of the business to farmers that want to get in the business. We also got a farm to school program we've been doing for a little while and hope to continue to do in the future. That would help develop a statewide training for farmers to enter the market so farmers can provide access to their food to schools. And I was glad to hear the recent announcement that Kansas will be getting some money from USDA to millions of dollars to allow schools to buy fruits and vegetables. So that's good. We hope that that can support our local farmers. We're going to be helping to provide many grants to schools, but also many grants to farmers through that Farm to School initiative, provide some success stories and positive examples that of ways that schools, farmers have been interacting with schools. And we also help with urban agriculture across the state. Next slide, please. We also have to make sure that we get the appropriate regulatory and policy framework to allow for local foods to prosper in Kansas. So we work on that at the State House. We're helping to support climate smart agriculture, and including working with allies to provide for more food access and healthy soil initiatives. And we'll also be working on Farm Bill quite a bit as we've done previously through the years. Okay, next slide. Research and resource sharing is a big part of what we do. Many of you appreciate it. Attended our 3 virtual conferences in the past year, focusing on a wide variety of subjects. We want to make sure that the word gets out on the opportunities and showcase some of our farmers across the state. We do that with our rural papers and talk about issues and topics that both challenges and opportunities that we face in the farm system across the state. So those are just a few ways we help with research and resource sharing. We'll be doing a new project called Sunflower Stories, where we visit some communities and talk about their specific problems and successes. So stay tuned for some of that. And then finally, looking ahead, again, as I said at the outset, we look forward to working with all of you in a number of these initiatives to try to help embolden our food and farm system across the state. We also want to make sure we do our best to tackle one of the biggest challenges affecting farmers in Kansas, and that's climate change. One of our top industries is agriculture, and many of our challenges dealing with agriculture are now extreme weather related. We want to help those with socially disadvantaged communities get into providing for their own food system and being sustainable. And we're not going to reinvent the wheel. We're going to rely on many of you to help get this job done. So there's my 5 minutes. Thank you, everyone, for your attention and your interaction with Kansas Rural Center.
Great. Thank you so much, Zach. That was perfect. Exactly 5 minutes and very, very good. So I'm going to turn it now over to Miranda. And Miranda, I'm not sure what I should call you now. If it's, and I can never say your last name very well anyway. So Miranda, please go ahead and take over, and welcome to you too. I'm glad you could be here today.
Yeah, thanks so much, Londa. Yeah, so for those of you who had enough difficulty with my last name as it was, I got married 3 weeks ago and added some additional letters. So that's just further complicating everything. Okay, so anyway, my name is Miranda Miller-Klugesers. I'm the director of the Kansas Food Action Network. That name is going to sound a little bit new to some of you, and we'll delve into exactly why in a moment. Those of you who were familiar with us prior to just now, we were formerly known as the Kansas Alliance for Wellness. And so I'm just going to give you a couple quick updates on what we've been up to. Go ahead, next slide, Londa. So if you've been in touch with us over the past year or so, this isn't really any of surprise to most of you, but just a bit of background on our organization, just to get everybody on the same page. The Kansas Alliance for Wellness started in 2014 as a way to provide structured technical assistance to the increasing number of local food councils across the state of Kansas. Today, we've gone from what was 10 in 2014 to roughly 30 councils covering 42 counties. Kansas has the highest number of local food councils per capita in the United States. Roughly 76% of Kansans are represented by their local food policy council, meaning that they have grassroots representation in the food systems issues that matter to them, which is an awesome bragging right for us. So at the start of 2020, the Kansas Alliance for Wellness transitioned away from the American Heart Association, where it had been for the past 6 years or so, to its new parent organization, KSRE Healthy Kids. The plan was to be able to provide a broader swath of technical assistance to the food policy councils across the state that are working on increasingly complex food systems issues, not just healthy eating and active living. So about 10 weeks after I had taken over the project, the funniest thing happened. But we were able to use 2020 to help us lead by example and basically chuck into the trash what we had planned for the year, and instead really lean in and lead by example and listen to the councils to help us restructure according to their needs, but also help to restructure according to the food systems change that we knew was going to be happening in a post-COVID era. Go ahead, next slide. So like I said, if you've been in touch with us over the past year, this is old news, but we have essentially restructured our entire organization. This is one of our first major milestones for us. Big picture, we have moved from a top-down TA technical assistance provider model to more of a network model. So instead of myself and Eileen Horn fielding all of the technical assistance requests across the state, we believe in peer learning. So we, many of you who we consider to be part of our network will oftentimes throw you technical assistance requests or connect you with councils to really unite the state in moving together and just making sure that everybody is on the same page about the type of work that's happening across the state. We also formalized our organization, complete with an advisory board that has council representation. We developed a whole process for allowing councils to elect their own representatives. To our knowledge, we're the only organization of our kind to have council representation at the executive level, which is awesome, but also we're like literally inventing a wheel here. So, stay tuned for how this has worked out for us. And yeah, I think we can move on to the next slide from here, Londa. Next big milestone for us, we hosted at the end of September, which gosh, I can't believe is only a month ago, our first statewide convening that's happened since the organization has fallen under the helm of KSRE Healthy Kids. We had to pivot to a virtual convening at the very last minute, but that was still exciting for us. We ended up with over 80 representatives from across the state, from local food policy council leaders to government representatives, which was awesome for us. We hosted, gosh, I think it was 15 lightning talks by the local food councils. And those are all recorded and we'll send them out eventually now that I'm back from our honeymoon. So you'll get a chance to really get an update on what the councils have been working on across the state, and hear in their own words what they've been working on. The word cloud you see in front of us was part of our keynote address given by Marcy Penner from the Kansas Sampler Foundation. She asked the councils, what does success look like for you? So if you as a council have achieved your food system leadership success, what does that look like? And these were the words that we saw pop up. And if those of you who are familiar with word clouds, meaning equity, access, and partnerships were three of the most commonly used words, which was super exciting for us to see. And finally, Londa, I'm going to go over. I had a lot to talk about, apparently. Just real quick, our final really big exciting thing that we have coming out. We have piloted what we're calling a food and farm advocacy coalition. Basically, it's a lobbyist sharing partnership that we're heading up along with the 4 organizations you see across the screen. So the 5 of us are sharing the cost of a lobbyist for the 2022 legislative session. So we'll be able to work together and compile all of our resources and do lots of shared learning and shared advocacy. So I'm 30 seconds over, but I'll just borrow time from Kansas Rural Center. And that's it for me.
Yes, now you share a lobbyist, so you can do that, right? So that's why partnerships are great. It's great to be able to share things like that. So on that beautiful note, are the beautiful cows in the picture there. Now I'm going to turn it over to Janelle Dobbins with the Kansas Department of Ag. And I'm going to stop my share so that she can share. Now, how do I stop the share over here? Okay, now they're going to share their screen and they're going to zoom us around their website.
Yes. So as Londa was saying, I'm Janelle Dobbins with the Kansas Department of Agriculture, and I run the From the Land of Kansas program. And I was going to say, Tori Laird, our agency economist, is going to be sharing the screen here. And I decided today what I was going to do is try to take you through a quick look at our website and all the different things you can find on there instead of showing you a PowerPoint. And I'm going to make this super quick since we have our 5 minutes. But as you all know, we serve Kansas farmers, ranchers, and agribusinesses and the consumers they serve. And we work to create environments that work for sustainable growth and help everyone navigate any regulatory needs. So as we go through this website, first I'm going to talk about ag stress. As we all know, it doesn't matter if you are growing 3 tomatoes, if you're growing millions of tomatoes, there is stress in agriculture because lots of times we're dealing with weather and everything. So you can find all types of great things for mental health, finding counselors and everything on that. Also, the Kansas Department of Agriculture, we are in 5 main divisions. So we have our division of animal health, our division of conservation, our division of water resources, and then the 2 we're going to dig into are agricultural business services and then the division of agricultural marketing. So agricultural business services, what falls within that is our food safety and lodging area, and they are responsible for, as the name says, food safety. So they do the licensing and inspections for anyone from grocery stores to restaurants to actual people growing food and selling them, and they can help walk anyone through if they need a license or if not, and help them get that license. And they also partner with K-State's Value Added Foods Lab. And then our meat and poultry area is a cooperative state federal program, and they do all the inspections and register commercial and custom slaughter facilities and meat and poultry processing facilities. They also do the licensing and labeling for all meat products. So for anyone who's starting, maybe they're wanting to start to sell meat directly from their farm to consumers. That happened a lot this last year. They would work with our meat and poultry, and they can help them figure out on the labeling and if they need a license or not and what they're able to sell. And then also we work with our dairy and feed area because that's who does our milk and cheese producers. And then weights and measures works with all scale certifications. So if someone is selling consumers things by actually weighing them, they need to have their scale certified. And anything you have questions on, I'll tell you right now, you can always email me later because I can give you more information on any of this, or anyone from Kansas Department of Agriculture can help you. Then we also have licensing guides because lots of times people kind of get stuck as they're starting with local foods and they're like, I don't even know where to start. So when they go into these licensing guides, we have them broken out by all these different areas. I'm going to kind of walk you through the farmers market one. And what it is it takes you through and talks about, who do you need to talk to, and gives you contacts there. So on this one, it shows on the Department of Revenue, you know, you need to figure out how to collect tax at farmers markets. So how do they do that? It of course has links also for Department of Agriculture, but it's also showing food safety with K-State University and what pamphlets and stuff they have there, and with USDA. So each of those different, I think we have about 25, 30 different licensing guides. All of those show all the different steps. So anyone can go in there and find out all the information they need for that. Also through our ag growth initiatives. So we work with all the 19 sectors of agriculture, which includes many, many different areas, but particularly food and meat processing and specialty crops. And with that, we also do, as we were just talking about with grants world. So we have our specialty crop grants and our organic cost share grants. So as Tori is kind of showing you there, you can go in and click in more information about either of those grants programs. She's showing you the organic cost share. That works with, if someone is wanting to sell organic and they are getting certified, we can help offset some of those costs with that grant. They just need to apply. Then also, as I said earlier, we were going to dig further into two different groups. And the second group is the Division of Agricultural Marketing, Advocacy, and Outreach, which is what Tori and I fall within. So we have our international team, our business development, our compliance education, our agency economists, and then of course from the land of Kansas, which is our main arm that works with local foods. And we're going to actually take you into our From the Land of Kansas and take you into our website to show you some more things for local foods. So we work with businesses that grow, produce, process, manufacture in the state. So you can see all of the Kansas businesses that are listed. You can join the program there. There's a member directory. And then of course, there's an interactive map for finding all of that. And we have that for both regular Kansas businesses, and we also have it for farmers markets. And so over in the farmers market area, there's even additional information you can find. So we have both your market directory for all the farmers markets, the registering your market, but you can also click into like our farmers market regional workshops. We do those every year. We're planning the ones right now in 2020. When you click in there, you can actually see all the recordings from 2021. And that's everything from food safety, meat and poultry, to double up food bucks, senior farmers market nutrition program, all that information. So you can go in anytime and listen to those recordings. And probably in the next month here, we'll be getting introduced all the information that we'll be doing for 2022. Also within that same farmers market world, the next one down shows Discover Resources. And in here, you can be seeing lots of different things, from signing up from our farmers market newsletter to stay posted on all the local foods things, to information about insurance, guidance for COVID, recipe cards, SNAP programs, any information you would need for starting a farmer's market. And then the next one down after that, so we have our farmer's market online toolkit. And so within there, you have everything from the general marketing guide to an online toolkit to a seasonality calendar, fillable templates, kids activities, 40 different recipe cards. So we've tried to do lots of different things that you could use as needed, to everything from doing cooking demonstrations to just figuring out how to do quick ads on social media out about your farmer's market or about your particular farm. And then our final thing that we also do with our From the Land of Kansas program is, when you're a member of the From the Land of Kansas program, you can choose to actually sell on our shop site, which is shop.fromthelandofkansas. So this gives folks an easy way, because it's not the easiest to build a e-commerce site yourself. So this gives everyone an opportunity to actually be able to sell online and not have to build their whole own site. And we help them do that. And as you can kind of see right now, we do everything from cheese to honey to jellies, whatever our folks are wanting to sell. And then you were seeing that go across there. I'll do my little plug right now versus at the end. Our holiday gift boxes are on sale right now. So if you're wanting to send local foods, we ship all the way across all 50 states. And we are expecting to sell out, because as we know, there are shortages everywhere. And we have worked with our members to make sure we have product we have 3 different gift boxes this year. So go check it out. And as we tell folks, order early. So that's the quick synopsis. I'll drop my email address into the chat box. And as I said, if you guys have questions or want more information on any of these or exact links, just let me know. And thanks for being Vanna for me, Tori, today.
Thank you very much, Janelle. And yes, I will say really quickly, it's interesting how many people, like I got some gift boxes last year and I said, why didn't you order from Kansas or, our Missouri producers? And they didn't know that they could do that. So thank you for doing that. I think that's great. So I'm going to turn it over to Erica Blair. She's with the Kansas Healthy Food Initiative. She's a K-State Research and Extension employee as well. And I'll let her talk about the Kansas Healthy Food Initiative. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, Londa, and great to be with all of you for this inaugural statewide town hall. As Londa said, I am with Kansas State Research and Extension. I'm a program manager for the Rural Grocery Initiative, and today I will be speaking about the Kansas Healthy Food Initiative. So next slide. So the Kansas Healthy Food Initiative got started in 2017. And broadly speaking, this is a program that aims to increase access to affordable, healthy food in Kansas. And we understand this to be a way of improving not only health outcomes, but also economic development in our communities. So KHFI is a public-private partnership. The initiative is funded by the Kansas Health Foundation, and as you can see on the right, there are several other partners involved in implementing the program. And we work in a couple different ways. So first, we offer technical assistance to really anyone who is working on a food access project, whether they're in the state of Kansas or even if they're across the nation. And so that really means that we are providing informational resources or connecting people with other contacts. And second, we provide financing to food access projects at the retail level in underserved and low resource areas of Kansas. So I wanted to go into a little more detail about that now. Next slide. So starting on the right, KHFI funding generally supports one-time investments that would allow a retail outlet to sustain or enhance their healthy food offerings. So what do we mean by retail? So this could include grocery stores, farmers markets, food hubs, farm stands, mobile markets, and so on. And there are a lot of different folks who might be involved in these kinds of endeavors. So we're not only talking about grocers, but also potentially distributors, producers, nonprofits, and so on. There's also a wide range of projects that would be eligible for assistance as well. So projects could be anywhere from building a brand new grocery store to renovating a store to purchasing coolers or farm machinery. It could help with expansion. It could go toward initial startup costs. So there's a lot that can be done with KHFI funding. And currently we can provide loan grant mixes to support projects. And I also wanted to mention here that KHFI is developing a racial equity policy to expand program support for projects that are led by people who are Black, Indigenous, and people of color. And this is because we acknowledge that these communities have been systemically underserved by traditional financing in the past. So for BIPOC, BIPOC-led projects, the financing mix is composed of a 20% grant and 80% loan, as opposed to a 15% grant and 85% loan. And we understand that this is really just a place to start and that a lot more needs to be done. So now I wanted to also briefly touch on our two-step application process. So now looking at the left-hand side of the slide. So the first step is an eligibility review. Applicants really just need to fill out a short form on our website. And we kind of do the rest to determine if the project is eligible and meets our goals. So we ask, is the project committed to healthy foods? Is it carried out in low resource and underserved areas? Is it led by experienced operators? Is it integrated with community needs? So we set up a call with the applicant and their community partners, and we look at a few different data sets to determine if those goals and criteria are met. And then if the project is deemed eligible, then it goes on to the financial application. which is a bit more in depth. It asks for things like the actual cost of the project, a breakdown of how the funds will be used, sales forecasts, and so on. Next slide. So on our website, you can take a look at some of the different projects that have been funded. On this slide, we have several examples of grocery stores, a convenience store, a farmer's market, but we have also provided funding to farmers as well who are supplying to retail outlets. So things like seed and fertilizer that would have to be purchased year after year wouldn't necessarily be eligible for this program, but things that are long-term investments, one-time purchases could be eligible. So in that case, something like digging a well for irrigation or building a post-harvest facility, those types of things could be eligible. Next slide. So before I wrap up, I just wanted to point you to this farm to grocery best practices fact sheet. And this was developed by my office, the Rural Grocery Initiative, with a lot of help from other folks on this call, including Londa and the Kansas Rural Center. So this is kind of an example of technical assistance that we provide, and we thought it would be of particular interest to this audience today. So the fact sheet walks through different considerations for grocers and local producers to have a successful partnership. So it covers things like pricing and billing, packing, and so on. So I encourage you to take a look at this resource and share it. I will provide a link in the chat to this fact sheet. And I think that pretty much covers everything that I wanted to share today. So if you have a project in mind that you think would be a good fit for the Kansas Healthy Food Initiative, please feel free to reach out and we would be more than happy to talk through it with you. Thanks.
Great. Thank you so much, Erica. And I have to say, when I first heard about the Kansas Healthy Food Initiative, I thought, man, this is like an awesome best kept secret. So we want to make sure it's not a secret, that everybody knows about it, that it's available. I personally think it's an amazing availability of funds. So I'm going to now turn it over to Barb Depew with the Kansas Department of Education to talk about farm to school.
Thank you,
Barb.
Londa. And I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad to see everybody as new connections and new partners that are on the call today. I'm going to start out by wishing everyone a happy Farm to School Month. October is our Farm to School month, and therefore my background has apples because we also celebrate with our Mountain Plains Regional Crunch Off. So I'm going to start out by challenging Londa to enter her crunch that she had today on our link that we have that I just put in the chat box there, so that hopefully we'll have each of you, even if it's an individual or a group, to register your crunch on any local produce. It could be a vegetable or a fruit, not just an apple. So I'll let you go ahead and change the slide. I'm going to share today some of the activities and things that we have been doing in our department. I hope that some of you maybe had a chance to see posters that we had on display at the State Fair this year, and this is one of those that featured then our 13 subgrants that we have with our USDA Farm to School grants. And this is a great way for these sponsors across the state. We have both childcare and our school sponsors, and you can see here all the different activities and things that they are doing, from greenhouses to tower gardens to kits that they're using in their child cares, to introduce baking, farmers markets, also backyard gardens that they're doing. So we will be continuing with them through this year, and so that they will be sharing then in quarterly updates the things that they are doing. So I'm excited always to put new ideas and things out there for others that are traveling and working across the state to make this happen. We also do what we call Kansas Can Best Practices, and we share this information also then as part of our state board information that we do here. So we also have some child cares and also our school sponsors that are recognized annually with these and best practices that they do. The next slides then also share another poster that we had. This was growing participation in our summer food service programs through the summer, and some of these we hope will continue then through the school year this year. We had tower gardens that we have put in 84 of our schools across the state. Even some of them purchased additional tower gardens, so they're bringing local greens into their meal programs. We also got resources from Kansas Corn, Kansas Pork to provide educational information for our sites that we had in the summer, and then farmers market education that they were able to use. So this again was a great way for them to learn about where their food comes from, and also to celebrate then local foods in their meal programs. So we are continuing to work with our tower gardens through the school year, and again hoping to see local grains then in their meals throughout the year. Next slide. We also have our Farm to Plate work group, and this is something that I want to thank some of you that are on the call today that are in this group. We do meet quarterly with this group virtually to go ahead and to connect as partners and producers, to go ahead and set up goals and work on any projects, sharing any things that are going on across the state to add more local foods to our Kansas schools. And then also with these producers, we do talk about then different topics, different areas that we can hopefully help them with. Our vision is that Kansans can collaborate to procure and serve local foods in child nutrition programs and to promote learning and the success for each student. So we'll be having another meeting this November that will be going over the census results and set up some goals that we might be able to work with then through the information that was shared in the census information that we had. Just to let you know that we did have almost 60% of our sponsors that did participate in the census this year. And of those, we saw again almost 50%, a little over 50% actually, that were participating in Farm to School over the past 3 years. And there are several listed there too that we now can identify and start to work with that want to go ahead and add Farm to School programs in their schools or in their child care. So we look forward to working with them to go ahead and help us grow more local products into our meal programs. Next slide. Okay, some fun things that are going on. I hope to keep these on your radar through our website then, is we do have a Put Our State on Your Plate. This is Team Up for Local Foods. This is where our schools then can work with our FACS areas, local producers, our child nutrition programs, and the students to work together to create a local recipe. At this time, we have almost 50 teams that are registered then, and there's still time to add more teams to this. We will extend the deadline if we need to. So we are looking for, again, great recipes that we can put into our meal programs that is actually putting together then local products then and crediting it in our meals with that. The other that is on the slide here is our virtual Body Venture exhibit. Some of you may have been familiar with the past Body Walk or Body Venture that came to schools and was set up them for the kids to travel through. This year, we're going to do it virtually. And so there's some great teacher resources, activities. This can be in the classroom. This can be something that can be done as maybe an event, a wellness event, or an activity that they're doing, possibly phys ed classrooms. And so this virtual opportunity is a great way, again, to teach the kids about healthy foods and how to choose their healthy foods in their programs. We've had a kickoff event and our workshops will continue, so that if anybody knows of any teachers or any schools that are interested, feel free to contact me. And we have some workshops coming up that they can go ahead and attend to get activity kits for their areas. So again, this is a fun part of our jobs to go ahead and be able to promote local products through the activities and events that we do. I have our website listed, and also the hashtag Fueling KS Kids is, if you're on social media, that's a great place to look then for the activities and spotlights that are out there. So thank you very much.
Great, thank you very much, Barb. And I registered my crunch while you were talking. So yes, thanks again for all that you do, Barb, and thanks for all that all of you guys do. All of you that presented, this has been great. I'm going to just really briefly go through this since we're getting close to our 12 o'clock hour here. So I put in the chat our website again. Tom put it in earlier, but this presentation is really just kind of a laundry list of things that K-State does related to local foods. Most of these are listed on our website, so you can look at the website for more details, but just, and Tom, you can go ahead and advance the slide actually. Thanks. So you can see we have a number of different resources and a whole range of areas, and we have partnered thankfully with many of you that are on the call today to do some of these activities. Go ahead, Tom, you can keep going to the next one there. So these things that weren't necessarily called out on our website, so I wanted to make sure that I did talk about them too. And many of you might be aware, we have our Double Up Food Bucks program, which has been great. I know Erin Bishop, I saw she was on the call. Of course, the Real Grocery Initiative and KHFI that Erica Blair just talked about. A big thing that again, many of you are probably aware, but K-State we have a lot of people throughout the state doing consumer nutrition education, including to SNAP recipients. So that's a big program that K-State does related to local foods as well. We have an urban food systems educational program. I wanted to make sure I call out. I see Candace Schumacher is on today. That's a program, a master's program that K-State has related to urban food systems in particular. Of course, they learn a lot about food systems in general. In addition to just learning about urban food systems, we have a symposium coming up a year from now, almost a year from now. But so just wanted to put that on everybody's radar. Of course, and again, some of these people are on the call today. We have a lot of people working in the area of community vitality and development who are doing a lot of great things related to local food systems as well. And I see some of my colleagues that work with livestock producers that, like Janelle mentioned, a lot of livestock producers shifted to local markets during COVID. So some of our extension agents that are working with livestock growers in those areas are here on the call today too. So I wanted to make sure I mentioned that. You can go to the next slide, Tom. I'll just kind of start this and then I'm going to turn it over to Tom. But this is, again, kind of upcoming events. So I'll start with our K-State upcoming events, and then we really welcome anyone else to join in with other upcoming events that you might have. As Janelle mentioned, KDA and KSRE work together every year on our, we used to call them farmers market vendor trainings, and now we've really opened it up to all direct and consumer marketing. But there's the dates, and like Janelle said, we'll have more information coming out hopefully soon in the next few weeks. Our produce safety information is always available at that website there. I wanted to make sure to mention the Great Plains Growers Conference is coming up January 7 to 8. It will be hybrid this year. Tom can give you more information than I can, but it's you can join in person in St. Joe. Hopefully it will. Hopefully the weather will be okay and COVID will be okay. And then, or you could also join online for that. So that's for produce growers. Rebecca McMahon, I think she might be on the call. She has a really good looking commercial fruit production webinar series coming up in November as well. So I want to make sure I call that out too. There's lots of other, K-State has lots of other upcoming local activities going on as well. So, if you're in a particular place, you can always check with them. And thanks, Carrie, for putting those resources in the chat. You can always check with them if they have any upcoming events too. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tom to invite anybody else that wants to share any upcoming events that you might have with the rest of the group too. Thanks,
Great.
Tom.
Thanks, Londa. Yeah, so we'll just go ahead. If anybody wants to unmute themselves for a minute or so and share some upcoming events you've got going on. I know we've had a few things already shared in the chat, but feel free to mention what's going on with your organization, what's coming up in the near future.
Tom, before I was going to type it in, but I'll just say it. I forgot to mention this. I can turn my video on. So our next quarterly scheduled meeting would be January 26th, 11 a.m. That's our normal scheduled time. So we'll plan on that unless, something happens, but that's what we'll plan on at this point. So we'd invite you all to come back on January 26th from 11 to 12 as well. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Anybody have anything to share?
On our specialty crop block grant, we have 2 different ones that are actually active right now. And so Sammy is going to share in, we have our conference reimbursement, which is the first one that just got shared. I think, or she may have put the overarching link for it. And then she or Tori will also share in, because we also have some additional specialty crop block funding that just got approved, that's due by November 24th. The conference reimbursement is due by December 17th. And so we'll drop that link in, because as we all know, we always love grant funding when we have it available.
Yeah, thanks, Janelle. On that note, while I have the mic here, I might just also share that the North Central SARE program has their farmer rancher grants. There's an open call for those out right now. So I'll dig up a link for that. But if you have farmers in your area, or you are a farmer that does some experimental sustainable practices, that's a great way to try something new on your farm and share the results. And those are due December 2nd, I think. So it's open right now.
Hi, everyone. I'm Erin. I recently joined Kansas Action for Children as a food security policy advisor. And while we're kind of getting, while I'm kind of getting to know the sort of food security landscape in Kansas, I would love to get to know and speak with people involved like directly in the agricultural industry. So if anyone is interested in chatting with me and allowing me to learn from you, I would love that. I'll put my email in the chat.
Thanks, Erin.
Hey, good morning, everyone. This is Kerry Rivard over in Olathe, and I help oversee the Growing Growers program here near Kansas City. And one of the things we're excited about for the coming year is I'm actually going to be on sabbatical starting from in January till next June. And as probably many of you all know, we all have to do homework assignments when we're on sabbaticals. So the plan is actually to develop an online course related to growing growers for fruit and vegetable production, organic production. And we've sort of been doing a dry run for the last 2 growing seasons due to COVID. But my hope is that about a year from now, we should have a fairly nice, I think we're going to have 3 modules of an online course to help develop or really deliver that program throughout the state. And so once that happens, our hope would be that if there's host farmers out in the rural parts of Kansas, away from Kansas City, then they would be able to host apprentices at their farm. And then the students or the apprentices would be able to take this course online so that we wouldn't have to have the program, sort of rooted around a metropolitan area like Kansas City or the ICT program in Wichita. So if anyone has any ideas or suggestions of things that would make that more successful around the state, or ways that we can help deliver those resources to some of the smaller communities in the state, I'd love to hear anybody's feedback, and you're welcome to reach out to me through email.
Great, thanks, Kerry. And I will also call out the link that Kerry dropped in the chat to a new publication that he did with Megan McManus about helping farmers move into the wholesale market. It's called Demystifying the Wholesale Market, and really helpful for farmers who are thinking of maybe moving from a farmer's market into, supplying a local school or grocery stores or things like that. Anybody else? Going once, going twice. I guess we might get out of here just a minute or two early. We'll just like to remind you, Londa gave you a date of January 26th. We're hoping to have these meetings kind of quarterly, spotlight different partners. And again, the goal is really just to help everybody working on local food systems across the state of Kansas connect. So if you know people who would be interested in learning, feel free to pass along the Zoom invitation when we create that for that next meeting. If you weren't able to share today, but you have a write-up or a summary of what your organization's been doing, feel free to share that with us. And we're going to post this recording and all of those resources and any of the slide sets that people want us to share on that website that Londa and I have dropped in the chat a couple of times. With that, I'm going to hop here to the last slide. Again, if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to either Londa Nwadike or myself, and we'd be happy to do our best to connect you with resources. So really appreciate your time today. Appreciate those of you who presented, and I know you all are doing so much. Appreciate the brevity of which you squeezed your work into. That was an idea we took from the CAW, I guess, Kansas Food Action Network. Now they're convening of having people share 5 slides in 5 minutes. And I think that's a great way to get a quick overview of what's going on. I see Don has asked a question. Yeah, the January 26th will also be at 11 o'clock, unless we get some overwhelming feedback that time doesn't work. That's when we have our sort of regularly scheduled local foods teams meetings with KSRE. So it worked well for us, but if that doesn't work for some of you all, feel free to let us know. And then Sarah has a question about grants available for food and farm coalitions. So if anybody, Miranda or someone wants to reach out, she's dropped her email in the chat, and we can probably share some information with you, Sarah. So pending any last minute announcements people have thought of while I was talking, I think we can go ahead and sign off. Thank you all for attending. I saw up to 51 people here, so a great turnout, and really thanks for joining us today. Hopefully see you next time.
Hey, Tom, thanks. I was in preschool room, so I stepped out in the hallway.
Oh, that's all right.
But thank you so much. I think that was great. It looks like there's still a few people on.